Thank you. We can never start until the good Mr. Durham gives us the nod, and he just has. Good evening, members, and welcome to all those present, including members of the public and the press. Before we begin, I need to go over the usual housekeeping rules. There are no fire drills planned for this evening, so if the fire alarm sounds, please leave the building by the nearest exit and assemble in the Queen's Gardens at the front of the building. Please do not re-enter the building until you are advised to do so. Please also ensure your mobile phones have been switched off or set to silent. I welcome those joining us in the public gallery, and I'd ask that they follow any guidance and instructions given by anyone seated at the top table. This council meeting is being recorded. The recordings will be available on the Borough Council's website. I would like to remind members that the standards of behaviour for meetings set out in the Council's standing orders apply, and as usual, we have set protocols around speaking during this meeting. No member should speak until invited to do so. If you wish to speak, please could I ask that you raise and keep your hand held high until you have been acknowledged. Please would all members in the room use the microphones whenever they speak, as without them anyone watching online will not be able to hear you. To use the microphones, please press the button at the front and centre when invited to speak, and wait a moment for the light on your microphone to come on. Please remember to turn off your microphone once you have finished. Members, in the interest of managing the meeting, please do not approach anyone seated at the top table for advice without first gaining agreement. Should you wish to do so, please raise your hand high. Please could I ask at the end of the meeting, make sure that you take all your belongings and any litter with you. Thank you. Before we commence with business, I was saddened to learn of the death of the former mayor, Alderman Elizabeth Betty Caddy. I did, in fact, attend a funeral representing the borough and the council. I propose to hold a minute's silence in tribute, after which I will ask members to pay tribute. Please stand. Thank you, members. Please be seated. Councillor Simon Tagg, would you like to lead tributes to Betty Caddy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'd like to pay tribute to Betty Caddy, who sadly passed away on the 24th of November, late last year, at a remarkable age of 93. Betty was a long-standing public servant and respected figure in the borough for a commitment which spanned decades on the council and in the community. She served as mayor of Newcastle-under-Lyme between 1994 and 1995. carrying out the role with dignity and warmth and unwavering sense of duty. And in recognition of that and a long service on the council, she became an honorary alderman of the borough as well, which I'm sure she truly deserved. For many years, Betty was the Labour councillor for Chesterton area and represented the community until 2004. So I actually did cross over. I was a councillor for a year from 2003 onwards while Betty was on the council. And I recall a strong voice and fierce sense of loyalty for the area she represented and never hesitated to stand up in the old council chamber and have her say on behalf of the residents on issues that mattered to them, which is quite right, and where we come to this council to all do that. And of course, alongside her council work, Betty was a dedicated Justice of the Peace as well. A funeral was held on the 12th of December at Bradwell Crematorium, and I'm sure brought together family, colleagues and friends. I know you were attending, Mr Mayor, as well, on behalf of the council, obviously where we could pay tribute to the years of decades of service. So on behalf of the council and my group, I offer heartfelt condolences to her family and place on record our gratitude for Betty's service for the borough over all those years. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Councillor Jill Williams, would you like to say a few words, please?
Please, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Our sympathies to Betty's family. Councillor Elizabeth Caddy, or Betty as she was affectionately known, was elected councillor for the Chesterton ward in 86 to 2004. She led a very busy life. As well as being a councillor, she was a Justice of the Peace. In 1994, she had the honour of being elected to be mayor of our royal and ancient borough. She received the honour of being made an alderman of the borough in 2015. After retiring from being a councillor, she carried on tirelessly working alongside her fellow volunteers in the Chesterton Community Centre. I think she actually served 26 years working in that community centre. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Would any other members like to speak? Yeah. Thank you. Councillor Gorton, please.
You've got across, apologies.
Oh, sorry, it's my eyesight. Councillor Grocott, please. I do apologise.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor. I mean, obviously being the councillor for Holidays in Chesterton and knowing Betty for, well, best part of all my life, technically. I know not just basically from the council point of view, but she went around a lot with obviously Lily Barker as well and different other people. And cross-party, she actually did the best for our community, which was something that Betty was very proud of. It's a shame, obviously, knew Betty in her later years when she was health was failing, but she still always tried her best. And like I say, she'll be missed in our community. So God bless her. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grocott. Would any other member wish to speak? No, fine. Thank you. We now commence the business for this evening, agenda item 1. Members, the first item on the agenda is apologies. Do we have any apologies, please? Councillor Tagg.
Could I give apologies for Craig Scalding, Simon Jones and Lillian Barker? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Any other apologies? Councillor Fox-Hewitt, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Rebecca Lewis.
Fine. Thank you, Councillor Fox-Hewitt. Agenda item 2 is the declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest from any members or officers in relation to any items of business contained within this agenda? No? Fine. Thank you. Agenda item 3, members, is to approve the minutes of the extraordinary and special council meetings held on the 19th of November 2025. You will find those minutes on pages 5 to 6 and 7 to 15 of your agenda. Can the minutes be agreed? Fine, thank you. So do you have a point of order or a question?
Yeah, there was a bit missed out.
Yeah, Councillor Crisp, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, there was a little bit missed out. I've spoken to Jeff about it. From what I said at in the meeting.
Fine, thank you. We move on to agenda item 4, which is my announcements. Firstly, I would like to thank my chaplain, who couldn't be here this evening, which is why the prayers were led by the Vicar of Kidsgrove. So I'd like to thank my chaplain and the Parochial Church Council of St Margaret's, Betley, who very kindly donated the collection from my joint mayor's and St Margaret's Carol service held on Saturday the 20th of December to the mayor's charity. I would also like to thank the Salvation Army, who donated the collection from their Carol service on Sunday the 7th of December, also to the mayor's charity. Members, I provided you with a list of my fundraising events between now and Saturday the 16th of May with my Christmas card. Nevertheless, I would like to draw your attention to an event in February and mention the Mayor's Ball. My next mayoral fundraising event, a performance of the Rock Choir followed by a disco, will be held at the Madeley Centre on Saturday the 14th of February at 7 p.m. Tickets obtainable direct from the Madeley Centre cost £15 each to include a pie, chips and pea supper. I would like to thank Jamie Stevenson for dealing with the arrangements for this event and also the Madeley Centre, who are sponsoring the event. The proceeds will be split between the Mayor's Charities and Dougie Mack. If you need the contact information for tickets, then please contact Jeff Durham. Tickets are now available for the Mayor's Ball, which will be held in the Chancellor's Building at Keele on Saturday the 21st of March at 7 p.m. Tickets are £75 for 3 courses with a cheese board on the side. Audley Brass Band will be playing during the evening. There will be a photo booth, which will be E.L. Norman. Then after dinner, there will be a disco, auction and tombola. The proceeds will go to the Mayor's Charities, which are Papyrus and Belong Newcastle. And for further information and tickets, please contact Jeff Durham. I will be making a further announcement at the February Council about a fundraising event to be held on Saturday, the 14th of March, starting at 7 p.m. at St Giles. Thank you. Members, we now turn to the next item of business on the agenda, item 5, which is updates to the Council's constitution. A copy of the report can be found on pages 17 to 48 of your agenda. Councillor Simon Tagg, will you please now introduce the report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to introduce this report on the, as you said, legislative changes and updates to our council constitution following the implementation of the Procurement Act 2023. And members will recall that in September at our council meeting then we received an update on the constitution and asked our monitoring officer to carry out a review of what legislative changes have happened. The council has now been asked to endorse the national changes detailed in the report for our constitution, specifically the finance and contract procedural rules within section F5. The report also outlines the transitional arrangements where the old regulations continue to apply, as well as the new publication duties and digital requirements that will come into force early this year. Members are also asked to note that officers are working on alongside the Constitution Working Group on a full review of the Constitution, which will be brought to the annual council in May. And of course, this report sets out the updates necessary to remain compliant with new legislation and to continue to deliver the procurement in the way that is lawful, transparent and fit for purpose. So I move the recommendations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Councillor Holland, would you like to second the recommendations?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have pleasure in seconding the recommendations, and in doing so, I should say I have read the changes proposed, and I hope members will be reassured that I have done so. As the leader said, these technical changes to Part F of our Constitution have been made in order to bring it into line with national legislation, and on that basis, I recommend that we vote for them. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Holland. Members, we now move to the debate. Would any members wishing to speak please raise their hands high? No members wish to speak on this, so in which case I will call on Councillor Simon Tagg to please sum up.
Nothing further to add other than move the recommendations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. The recommendations have been moved and seconded, so we will now move to the vote on this. I understand that a named vote has been called for, so I will ask the Chief Executive to take this vote.
No, I'm not saying members asking for a named vote.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Mayor, we can proceed to a normal vote. So
Right. Okay, that's fine.
by show of hands.
Sorry, I'm misleading myself. I do apologise. Right, show of hands, please.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
So that's unanimous. I do apologise to members. The next item of business on this evening's agenda is the leader's statement. And a copy can be found on pages 49 to 52 of your agenda. I'm going to ask Councillor Simon Tagg if he would like to introduce his statement. I will then invite members to put questions to the leader or relevant portfolio holder. I will take each paragraph of the statement in turn and will invite up to 3 questions at a time before I ask the leader to respond. If I could please remind members, this isn't a debate. Once the leader has responded, there is no right for members to reply. Councillor Tagg, would you like to introduce your statement, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'd like to move it for obviously comments and questions and look forward to answering the questions that come in from fellow members.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Members, we note in paragraph 1 that Cabinet met on the 2nd of December 2025 and the 13th of January 2026. Do members have any comments or questions on any items from the aforementioned Cabinet meetings that are not covered in this leader's statement? No, fine, thank you. Paragraph 2 is about Wally's Quarry and the odour issues. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 2? I think it's just 2 on this one. Yeah. Yeah, I think Councillor Adcock was first with his hand up, so I'll take him first, if I may, Councillor Wheeldon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Apologies, Councillor Wheeldon. Yes, it's very welcome, the progress on Wally's Quarry. This is indeed being the first winter in many, many years. We haven't seen the significant spike in odours we've seen in other years, which is great news for our residents. However, attention does turn to the future of the site and what that holds. So I've got a question about the government support for the future action and restoration on the site. Has the leader received a response from the government or our local MP regarding who will be responsible for paying for the restoration of the site?
Thank you, Councillor Adcock. There's actually now, there was a request from the other side. So Councillor Fox-Hewitt, please.
Thank you for that, Mr. Mayor. In fact, that previous question does lead me on to my contribution. I do have to respectfully refute the leader's continued assertion that the Member of Parliament has not responded to Council's call for either a public inquiry or government support for restoration. I mean, that is part of a theme and an approach to various stakeholders who have worked towards a remedy at Wally's Quarry. Mr. Jogi is on record as supporting a public inquiry and pushing for government support and has had discussions with ministers. Indeed, it's my understanding that he made those same contributions at this council's committee of inquiry when he gave his contribution. But I think what he has said is that there are more immediate priorities in closing the site and then developing a full and final remediation plan. So we are all, I'm sure, grateful that this MP worked tirelessly with the EA, the UKHSA and other agencies to finally deliver that closure notice, and I'm sure we're all waiting to see the full restoration plan being delivered. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Fox. Councillor Wielden now, please.
With reference to Wally's Quarry, residents have clearly benefited from a much more stable winter period at the site, although the torrential rains did cause some concerns. What further, as far as leachate is concerned, what further assurances can the leader give that this improved performance will be maintained long term? Could I also add to that, please, that despite what's recently been said, the lack of communication is very important to residents, and that can be filtered through this council. So for no response by the MP to recent letters is very significant and important to them. And the fact that our MP, Mr. Joji, meets with various government bodies and authoritative figures is of no significance to local people unless it's communicated to them what exactly is going on. And there seems to be a distinct lack of communication as far as that's concerned. So perhaps we could find out what exactly he is doing as far as that's concerned at the same time as the initial question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wielden. That's the three questions. So, Councillor Tagg, would you like to respond, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for those questions. I think starting at the start with Rupert's comments, and I echo what he said about the Christmas period. It's really pleasing to see this site hasn't been causing problems for our residents. That's the first Christmas in many years, a New Year period, when we haven't had a deluge of issues because of odours. So I think moving in the right direction since the closure, and obviously over a year since the closure. I think it's right to mention the MP not responding to the letters, and I take on board what seems to be appearing to be the spokesman for the Member of Parliament on this council, Councillor Fox-Hewitt. But I think the case we're raising here is the letter we wrote regarding the response we had from the Minister, where they said there was no need for a public inquiry, that the EA had carried out its duties over the years, etc., etc. That led us to write again to the MP, and then without a response at the last meeting, the Environment Scrutiny Committee, which Rupert chairs, asked for another letter to be wrote. So I wrote a joint letter with Rupert to the MP, and as of date, we haven't had a response. So that's the official position on that. And I echo what Councillor Wielden just said there about, obviously, information of actions need to be fed back to us so we can tell the wider public. On Councillor Wielden's question, I think what the council's doing, of course, the council does not own the site, run the site. Its role is obviously a statutory nuisance coming off the site. That's abated now, hasn't it? The council was taking abatement action against the previous operator. They were removed from the site, and the Environment Agency has contractors working on the site. Even last week, they sent out a message on their website to say works were taking place, and then that leachate plant, which you mentioned, Councillor Wielden, will be brought back into use. That was investment many, many years ago, the leachate plant, on pressure from the local community on the previous operator of the site. And that was put in place to enable leachate, the smelly water, to be dealt with on site so that it didn't have to be tankered off, creating odours. And of course, the former operator, Wally's Quarry /Red, had left that leachate plant in a state of breakdown, and it's having to be brought back into use, cleaned, and then balanced so it began to take the leachate and deal with some of those that leachate water, so it doesn't have to be taken off site. So that's a plus as well. So I think the long term, the council's working through with its partners, which includes the county council, includes the Environment Agency, includes Health UK, and others, and ministers, the civil servants from the ministry as well, on that long-term future to see whether we can get a plan in place for full-term restoration and the capping that's associated with that, so this problem never becomes an issue for our residents again, so they can look back and hopefully at those 3 or 4 years when we've had really bad odours, and thank goodness we're not going back to that. All's well at the moment, but this, as we know with sites like this, it needs constant attention and capping and restoration, and we're fighting for that, and that's what we're going to continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Are there any other speakers? Yes, Councillor Gorton, please. Sorry, Councillor John Williams. I do apologise.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's sad that we are pointing the finger at individuals like the MP. If it wasn't for our MP, Wally's Quarry tipping wouldn't have stopped.
Sorry, could we keep order, please?
Thank you.
Please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the Labour government got it closed down after years of inactivity by the Conservatives. Again, it's sad that we are talking about the politics of this when it's affecting the residents. And my question is to the leader, is it right that to call for a public inquiry, the first thing, well, Mr. Mayor, can we stop this silliness? As a criminal investigation going on, what take precedence? The criminal investigation, get that sorted, and then a public inquiry can look at all problems that we have, that the residents of this borough have had for many, many years. But again, I repeat, it's sad that we have to nitty horrible remarks by members of the Conservative Party. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Were there any other questions? Councillor Tagg, would you like to respond, please?
Okay, thank you. I think, Councillor Williams, you're the only person that's mentioned political parties in this. You brought Labour and Conservative into it. We never did that. What we're trying to do is get our current MP to obviously step up to the mark on this. I think closure of a site takes longer than just 4 or 5 months, and I think the work on it took longer than anybody should have imagined. But I think we had the temporary closure in the spring of 2024. Which was well before I think our MP became in position in the July. So I think that's just worth noting. And this sort of political blame game hasn't been started by ourselves. Anybody that looks on the Parliament website and Hansard will see that the MP is continually throwing aspersions that local leaders should have done more to deal with this. And as I said in the answer to the previous questions, this council only has the statutory nuisance abatement notice powers, and we triggered those as soon as we could, and were going down the route of legal action before the obviously the company went into liquidation, which then meant, because of company law, that there was no able to take that further. On the issue of the public inquiry, we've always said, dating back to these council meetings in the past, at the public inquiry, the committee of inquiry, which you chaired, Mr. Mayor, is that the public inquiry should take place at the right time, but there should be an announcement that one was going to be held. And I think the community still want an announcement that things are moving forward. I heard our MP on Radio Stoke a few months ago talking about, yes, he wanted a public inquiry, but he thinks that he even said the restoration should take place first. The restoration is going to be 25 to 30 year period of time. That's why it's going to cost so much. So the MP was sending out mixed messages there. Most people that are involved in it will either be dead by then or almost by the time of any public inquiry. I think you, Mr. Mayor, when you were sitting amongst us before you became mayor, made the point about the post office inquiry, didn't you? And how that was, didn't happen soon enough. people were affected and are still affected now by the result of what happened there. And the inquiry found fault, didn't it? And it took too long to get to that, and a lot of people suffered. And I think a lot of people have suffered to do with Wallace Quarry, and they deserve at least an indication that redress is going to come and a chance to the record to be put straight and people to be held responsible. And clearly, that is the regulator that should be held responsible for the side, which is the Environment Agency. We have always said that, and that's the position we keep at the moment.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Members, we're now moving to paragraph 3 because there was no other hands raised before Councillor Tagg responded. Paragraph 3 is about the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 3, please? Yes, Councillor Holland, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've said before how much I regret the winding down of the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. When the new government came into office, it chiselled off the door the words levelling up from the government department because it said that the words were the previous government sloganising. But the Shared Prosperity Fund was real money with a real impact, as is outlined in the leader's statement. And at the time that it's been wound down, the government has wound up other programmes that we simply don't benefit from. There is a local growth fund that is focused on the government's favoured city regions. And there is the Pride in Place programme. And in the first phase of the Pride in Place programme, there are 55 places that will benefit. Only in the entirety of the West Midlands, there are only 4 out of those 55. All 4 of those are within the West Midlands Metro Mayor's little fiefdom. So it's unfortunate that this government chooses to take money away from places like ours and to give it to other places. Would the leader agree with me that the withdrawal and the winding down of the Shared Prosperity Fund is regrettable and reflects that the government no longer has any prosperity to share? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Holland. Are there any other questions? No? In which case, Councillor Tagg, would you like to respond, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I agree with Mark said there, really. It's a shame. I think the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, the Borough has done well out of that, £4 million, and under the previous government, over £1 million in the first year of the new government who carried it on. Now they're discontinuing it. So I think you're quite right, Mark, to talk about Pride in Place and all the other funds that we're not seeing, and they're being funneled to other areas. Don't forget when it came to, for example, town deals, we had 2 in the borough. At the point when we were awarded them in 2019, we were the only borough in the country to have 2 town deals. Some have got some more than one since under the previous government. So I think it's a sad day when we know we're being deprived of this, because the projects, as you can see in the Cabinet report, which have benefited from UK SPF, are making a real difference to people in many quarters, whether that's environmental, job skills, heritage, really a mixture. I'd really like to pay tribute to our teams under our deputy director, who's made sure executive director, that we've made sure that we've made sure that money has had bang for the bucks. And you can see in the Cabinet report that went last year to Cabinet that it shows that money is being spent properly. I think one thing you talked about, Mark, was some of that money is being funneled to areas who've got strategic authorities. If you remember from our debate last autumn about local government reorganisation, we have been denied strategic authority in Staffordshire. All of the councils working together, Stoke, Newcastle, South Staffs, all of them wish to move forward with a strategic authority which would allow devolution, real devolution, and we've been prevented of doing that because of local government reorganisation, messing around with the councils and who empties your bins and the boundaries. And yet, announcement last summer from the government that strategic authority areas are the only ones to be getting any of this extra regeneration money, which used to be the levelling up money. So we are being disadvantaged by this. We've wrote to our MP, again, I have to keep bringing this up, don't we? Have wrote to our MP. Have we received a satisfactory answer? Well, that's for us to look at. I think we need somebody down in Parliament who's going to be battling for us on this and getting money into this borough, because that's really important. We did really well between 2019 and 2024. Not mentioning any politics there, Councillor Williams, but we did really well. And that tap has now been turned off. I thought we were having silence as Councillor Williams. I agree with Councillor Williams.
Sorry, can we just try and keep order, please? Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Tagg, please continue.
Yes, so I think what we need is obviously the government to continue to fund areas like Newcastle Borough, whether that's Kidsgrove or whether that's a town. And of course, we have got later on the agenda, we'll be talking about our potential bid for a town of culture. But I remember when this government come in, and others will remember, they said that levelling up, the town deals were a competitive process. They shouldn't be going down that route. We should just be giving it to areas that need the money. And then what they announced, something that we can apply for, again, it's a competition, isn't it? We're going to take part in it, and we're going to be talking about it later, hopefully, that we're going to put in a really good bid. But it's something, another broken promise from the government that they would give money to areas that needed it, and Newcastle still needs it and fits the bill for funding and for levelling up. But this government is turning off the tap. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Members, paragraph 4 is about the local government reorganisation update. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 4, please? Thank you. We'll start with Councillor Gorton. I've got it correct this time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to refer principally to paragraph 3 of item 4, which deals with the elections in May. And I think someone from the Labour side really ought to express disappointment that the Secretary of State, Steve Reed, has referred to those authorities that may be abolished as zombie councils. Language of this kind is not called for, it's unhelpful, and I really do think it's an insult to the officers and elected members who serve on these councils, and I really think the Secretary of State should apologise. I also think it's wrong of ministers to use a clause in the 2000 Local Government Act to allow councils to opt out of elections in May 2026. Whether or not local elections take place in May should be decided by a vote in Parliament. And would the leader agree that the uncertainty and muddle over local elections this spring is yet another example of how badly the reorganisation of councils has been handled? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gorton. Councillor Crisp, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council's stance on the Newcastle unitary on the existing borough boundaries sends a powerful message to ministers. How confident is the leader that our evidence-based submission will go out to consultation as part of the government statutory consultation on LGR proposals in Staffordshire, which is due to happen in Feb?
Thank you, Councillor Crisp. Councillor Holland, please. Oh, sorry. We're not doing too well at on the top table at the moment. Councillor Tagg, would you like to respond, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for those comments. And Councillor Gorton, I know we've shared a common view on this right from the beginning, and thank you for that. I think it's good to see a Labour member speaking up on this, and really I think that's in the vein of Labour councillors of old would have stood up, and our previous Labour MP would have stood up very strongly against what this government are doing at the moment. And I think zombie councils, this council will be, as you can see from the leader's statement, as you can see from forward plan for cabinet, we've got plenty of work to be getting on with. There's that massive regeneration which we're doing in the town. There's all the other stuff we're doing to ensure that services continue to happen for the residents that we represent. I think perhaps I would suggest to Councillor Gorton is that you write to the local MP to tell him his views, because I'm sick of writing to a local MP and don't really get a response. But when I do, I get a response that isn't really worthy of an MP, because I've shown them to previous MPs and they cannot believe the tone that is taken. And I will publish them eventually, and he will be very embarrassed. Secondly, I think, Councillor Chris, thank you for your question. We've put in a really good bid that was backed by this council last autumn, and myself and the chief executive were in a call online with other leaders, and the minister was there for a few minutes. But also the civil servants were there for the full call. And it's quite clear that if you meet the criteria, which we do in our bid, is that we will be going forward to that consultation. And we've again, talking about competitions and on the last item, it seems to be as if we're in some sort of beauty contest, almost traitors stroke Pop Idol X Factor thing, and we're looking to get through to the next round. I think this is Judges' Houses we're through to at the moment, if we get through to the consultation. And I believe that we should be in that, and hopefully that will be the case, and we'll hear, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, because the government have said that they will do that consultation in February onwards, and then will let us know in the summer the outcome of that. And we expect to be in that consultation with our bid for a Newcastle unitary based on the current Newcastle boundaries, and obviously we'll await what the government say in the summer over that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Members, paragraph 5 is about the draft housing and homelessness strategy 2026 to 2030. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 5? Let's start with Councillor Edgingham-Plunkett, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Can the leader please tell me exactly what affordable housing means, and also give us an update on how many people we've currently got homeless across our borough?
Thank you, Councillor Edgingham-Plunkett. Councillor Wheeldon, please.
Just like to say, when I first became a councillor, I wandered around the town and sort of checked this area out, and there were significant numbers then of homeless people around the place. What I would like to do is to make the comment as to how hard the particular cabinet member has worked and how hard the rest of the council have worked in diminishing those numbers as quickly as possible, and with the most decorum, really, and still giving people pride. The numbers have gone down and down and down, and I cannot thank them enough. And it gives us, it links into part of our pride in our borough as well. So thank you to the members involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeldon. There were only the two speakers. So, Councillor Tagg, would you like to respond, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, thank you for those comments and questions. I think affordable housing, anybody that's ever sit on the planning committee is sort of really interested in what affordable housing means. My colleague next to me, Councillor Williams, when I was on planning committee, was always saying, what is affordable housing, etc. Is it social housing? Is it the housing which is affordable to new first-time buyers? Is it housing that is affordable to people to downsize? I think that's something which we always sort of ponder over. But I think every application that comes forward of a certain size for housing needs to have that affordable element and a social element in there. So I think it's key that when we have applications to this council, our officers ensure that that is delivered. On the number of, was it the number of homelessness or the number of? Yes, I don't have that to hand, but we can supply that to you unless Jill can. Well,
I don't have the exact number. I can tell you how many rough sleepers we had on the last count, which was literally in the last week. It was 7.
So that's probably it. But we can find out the homeless. What we do have is a temporary accommodation crisis, like across this whole country, of having to house people that are about to be made homeless, and we prevent them from being homeless by putting them in temporary accommodation. But unfortunately, and this isn't a political issue because it was under the previous government as well, this council does not get back the full amount of money for the temporary accommodation costs, which are quite expensive. And we've wrote a number of times to previous chancellors and the current chancellor for that to be addressed, and it still hasn't been addressed in this budget this year that we had in November. So hopefully that answers the question. Thank you to Councillor Wheeldon for a comment.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Members, paragraph 6 is about the Newcastle Town Deal update. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 6? Councillor Beeston, I think your hand went up first, so we'll start with you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can the leader give us an update following the presentation in Parliament of the exciting plans for the regeneration of the Midway car park by our delivery partner, Capital and Centric? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Beeston. Councillor John Williams, please.
Really pleased. We have all these developments in the borough.
You might get
Don't forget it. Oh, we are.
Yeah, sorry, I think there's a problem with the microphone. I think it's now lit up.
We're on now. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. It's great to see these developments in the town, and especially in Nottingham and Chesterton. Chesterton is not mentioned here, but the point I'm going to make, and it's going back to what was asked before, affordable housing. We've got the flats in the town centre, which will be, I think, for younger people from probably the hospital, from Keele, and other people, other younger people to take up them properties. I think they will be for the single or two people, but not for families. Now, the Zanzibar is going to be, coming on to that, Zanzibar as social housing. So that'll be affordable rent. I've asked a question on Nutton, the two Nutton sites, and really I haven't got the answer. I did it planning, asked the question to the planning officer. He wrote to Aspire, and actually they come back and they wouldn't give an answer. Especially on the one at Nutton on the Rowell Rec site. What the house is going to be? All we get is this affordable thing, really. And it's about time, Mr. Mayor, that we broke that word down. And really, I'd like to see in this borough more rented or social housing built. Again, it's about the expense of doing that. But really, how many of the houses on in Nutton and on the Rycroft, which we've gone through planning, are like affordable rented? Because if they go out to the private rented, that will go up, and a private landlord will, they're not all bad, but a lot of them, all they're interested in is getting the rent, putting the rent up. And I think it's important for this borough that we do have affordable rented properties. The waiting list is enormous through Aspire and other social landlords. So that's my point, Mr. Mayor, again, about affordability and how many social rented or social housing are actually going to be built on these sites. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillor Grocott, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kind of mirrors what John said, actually, or Councillor Williams, I should say. Two things, obviously, Chesterton has greatly been developed at the moment. There are a few other things which I'm hoping may go forward again on a next scheme, hopefully, with the new government. The base of it is tonight, unfortunately. Before this, obviously, I met with the Deputy Chief Executive, Simon McKennedy. As people know, like Councillor Sweeney, we've been trying to work with myself, Councillor Fox-Hewitt, Councillor Jones, and also we've been liaising with Councillor Dean on this one. Been trying to get a committee together for the community hall. Unfortunately, on 3 occasions now, they've now cancelled on us, and unfortunately, despite everybody's efforts, that looks like the community hall committee is kind of not a non-starter, but it's very hard to get. So my point of view is, obviously, I know from Economy Place, which I sit on, we've talked about a different one for Nutton, a kind of image. Just wondering if the leader portfolio or even the deputy exec can just give us an idea of the kind of changes that will take place because of this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grocott. Councillor Tagg, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, happy to answer those 3 questions. Thank you for those. I think first one from Sue. I think it was really, Sue Beeston, it was really exciting, really, to have Newcastle Newcastle-under-Lyme's proposals for regeneration talked about in the House of Commons. I think the plans for the car park, which are, as Sue said, have been delivered in partnership with Capital and Centric, are really exciting. The first one in Europe, former car park to be converted into 110 new apartments. So really exciting proposal for the town there, and I think it was great to see. And I think more exposure will come for the Newcastle-under-Lyme town centre because of that proposal and because of our partnership with Capital and Centric to deliver on all the 3 sites we've got. So really good news. Councillor Williams, I think what we've said all along is we wanted a town centre for all. I think the previous administration up to 2017, which Councillor Williams was a cabinet member for, I believe for town centres, was heavily going down the route of student accommodation, and that collapsed massively into the old Sky building, now called Deakin's Court fiasco, which we were left to deal with for the past few years. Thankfully, that building is finished now, but it's still questionable of when people can actually live there. But I think students can actually move in there. I think what we're planning to do in our proposal is to have that mix of people, the young professionals. There's a social housing element on the Rycroft area, which is being delivered by Aspire, and also hopefully for a more elderly offer on the other part of the site through our other partners on there as well. So there's a good mix of housing coming, and really important for the town centre that people are living in and around the town centre. And I was talking to the Business Improvement District at their AGM last week, and I made the point that most of these sites historically had housing back-to-back terrace and slums, which of course were cleared in the 1960s to create the buildings that were there in the future. Now we're going back to people living in and around the town centre, and that can help our high street, I believe, and help our businesses as well. And we've got a motion about that later, which talks more about that. Interesting question. Thank you from Councillor Grocott. I'll answer that one because obviously we've been looking, well, in the plans, there's always been a provision for a Nutton Community Hall, and that was a commitment that was made during the town deal process to ensure that the one that was had to close and was demolished was replaced. And that's still our view. But of course, we know that, and thank you to Councillor Grocott for working with the community, and latterly Councillor Lynn Dean joining in as well to try and get what we need is community people to run this, and that they haven't been coming forward. And I think we should still keep trying to. But what we're trying to do with the officers and also with the town deal board is to find a middle way where we can have a community centre, but also have some enterprise units in there as well that can run the building and manage the building with the community rooms to be hired as you would in a community centre. So I think we can find a middle way, and I think it won't then require full community sort of management. It will be managed in a combination of the businesses that are in there. And of course, these enterprise park units and parks, which the county council run in Nutton and other areas, are really successful, and people, small businesses, incubation business units and all, etc., are really good and are really taken up. So hopefully we can get a package for the community centre plan up and running, and then finally we can deliver what we said we were going to do, which was a community hall for Kids Grove in the centre, Kids Grove, Nutton, in the centre of Nutton as well. So that's key that it's in the centre within walking distance of the existing houses and the new houses that are coming online as well in Nutton as part of those proposals. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Were there any other speakers on this paragraph 6? No, fine, thank you. Members, paragraph 7 is about the Kids Grove Town Station update. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 7? I'll start with Councillor Waring, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Many people have worked very hard to get the Kids Grove Station project to where it is now, and I think it's fair to say that it's been a difficult and protracted process that has been needlessly delayed by red tape. Consequently, the finalised plans under the Kids Grove Town deal are very welcome, and I have to say also very encouraging. Does the leader agree that Kids Grove has an exciting future ahead? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Waring. Councillor Allport, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to agree with Paul really and thank him and the town board for all the hard work they've done, and also historically John Honeysett, who was awarded an MBE for doing a lot of the groundwork and research into the feasibility of this project.
Thank you, Councillor Allport. Councillor Tagg, would you like to respond, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for those comments, and I'd certainly endorse both the comments on obviously the work that's gone in. I think what we had was a setback when the funding that was promised wasn't available for the bigger station rebuild because of the land conditions around on the old car park. But what we've managed to do with our friends in the train industry, I've put forward these proposals for the £2.7 million refurb, which will, if anybody's looked at the plans that are coming forward and the illustrations of what's going to happen to the station, we'll see that it is by all the means a brand new station area, which will help the gateway into Kids Grove for people to come in and to go out and connect with the rest of the country from our only station within the borough boundaries, and we're proud of that, and it should be the best station that we can possibly get. I think the rest of the town deal in Kids Grove is going to deliver the public realm improvement, some enterprise units over in Kids Grove as well, building on that success of the other enterprise units for small businesses, bringing people into the centre of Kids Grove, public realm and road changes as well. And I think the thanks go to particularly the officers again in Simon's team, but also, as I think David Allport said, to Paul as well, who's been Paul Waring, who's been central to this on the steering groups and his role as on Kids Grove Town Council as well, has played key. And thank you to him for the work he's done and everybody else involved. And I think we'll get a good scheme for Kids Grove that will complement the other stuff that's happened in Kids Grove, such as the sports centre coming back into use, such as the pump track up in Newchapel and the canal improvements as well, which all complements the rest of the stuff that's happened through Town Deal and is happening in the town centre, in Nutton and Chesterton, making the best use of that government investment we got up to 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. I'm assuming that nobody else wanted to speak on this paragraph. So that moves us to paragraph 8, which is about civic pride in our borough. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 8? Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Civic Pride had 22 days of action in 2025, starting with Kids Grove, Talk, Butt Lane, Newchapel and Mowcop in January, and finishing with Newcastle Town Centre in October. The Clayton and Westlands event on the 11th of June launched the new 22,000 Civic Pride Investment Fund, which was based on a notional allocation of £500 per ward councillor. This allowed councillors to support community priorities via a simple application process. Councillor John Tagg, Councillor Trevor Johnson and I were happy to allocate our £1,500 from the Maybank ward councillors to the Basford Allotments project. Civic Pride aims to create a strong sense of belonging to and pride in our fantastic borough. It's a response to feedback from residents and captures a lot of the work that already goes on by the council and its partners. It is also a call to arms for people of all ages to get involved. There are 24 days of action planned for 2026, and I'm delighted that the Civic Pride Investment Fund will continue into 2026. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hutchison. Councillor Gorton, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's nice to be able to speak on perhaps less contentious matters. I very much welcome the Town of Culture bid, and I wish our application every success. I know that our bid will draw on and highlight a substantial record of achievement. But can I suggest that now is the time to encourage the recreation of a Newcastle civic society? I'm sure that having an active civic society in place will strengthen our bid. And would the leader also ensure that members of Parliament for the borough are briefed on the bid with a view to encouraging them within the rules of the scheme to lobby on behalf of our application? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gorton. Councillor Parker, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and apologies for my late arrival. Yes, agree with Councillor Gorton. The Town of Culture bid, it would be fantastic for our borough up there with our, success in the Anyway, so the Civic Pride initiative has been a success over the last year with buy-in from partners such as police and Aspire. So my question to the leader or the relevant portfolio holder is, what other partners is the council including to strengthen our submission? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Councillor Tagg, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yeah, 3 questions at a time, Councillor Wheeldon. Hold your fire, you're next. Obviously, thank you, Councillor Hutchinson, and thank you for your work on Civic Pride as well, through your portfolio, which is key, that sort of cleanliness and community pride in their area. So really pleased to see that. And of course, the scheme for funding will start again in the new financial year, will be delayed until after the elections, obviously, but there will be that fund for people to bid to for projects. Councillor Gorton, I think you were talking about the Basford allotments group, I believe, getting funding, which David mentioned as well. And I know, for being a ward member in Maybank for many years, of the work that they've done over the years for the community and outreach to schools, etc. And really pleased that they're getting the funding for this as well. I think the end of your question, Councillor Gorton, sort of moved into the same subject as Councillor Parker, and thank you to Councillor Parker. I know for the question. I know you're late. You're working shifts, so he comes, and I think when people talk about councillors and the workload, a lot of councillors have full-time jobs and shift work, and Councillor Parker has come straight from work after a long day's work for this meeting tonight. So thank you for that. I think what you say about involving partners, I think this town of culture bid is an important thing for us. If we can get 3 million as a town of culture, that will make vast amount of difference to the borough and the work that we can do in the future. Of course, there's only one that can get that, but there are runners-ups and sort of things, and less amounts of money, which also could be awarded to help us to do cultural projects throughout the year. And we've got a real strength of culture in this borough. We've got the new Vic, for example. We've got our college, our university. We've got our town centre business improvement district. We've got our markets, our events markets. All of those we intend to be involved in this project. And of course, our MP, you're quite right, Councillor Gorton, would have a key role. We've already exchanged letters with the MP over this late year, and obviously I know he is keen to be involved and will ensure that happens through the correct channels in our bid. And of course, MPs have a really key role to play in being our advocate in Parliament for this, and I'm sure on this that can happen. So excited about this, and I think putting the bid in on its own and working with partners to create the bid will also I think bring a lot of new things out of the woodwork that are going on that we don't know about, that we can shout about in this area of culture and history. And as we know from the 850 celebrations, Mr. Mayor and other members, how we celebrated that celebration over a year, 3 years ago now for our borough, just shows what there is out there, and the amount of people that came to the events, thousands of people, whether that was in the Brampton Gardens or whether that was in the Brampton Park or whether that was in our town centre or that was coming to speaking lectures from various people, including Councillor Fear sitting next to me, about the history of the borough. They were well attended, and there is a thirst, I think, for knowledge of the history of the borough and to celebrate that. And we have a rich history, which we should be proud of, and that will be sent to any bid we put in for the town of culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. There are actually 2 speakers on the Labour side, but I think if I don't take Councillor Wheeldon next, we'll all be in trouble. So, Councillor Wheeldon, please.
How perceptive of you, Mr. Mayor. It's just to say, really, that I think the launch of the Civic Pride last year was a good precursor to our bid to become the UK Town of Culture. I think it was a good initiative to begin with, and it puts us in a good place. All that I'd ask the portfolio holder to do is to include Thistlebury Ward in the list that he gave, because we launched it and had Aspire, the police, lots of local people involved, which was involving litter picking and all the ancillary things that go with it. And also we visited the refurbishment of the allotments at Thistlebury, which, and I think you were there as well, Mr. Mayor. putting your fourpence worth in with effort. And it was a great few days by all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeldon. Yes, I was, confirm, I was very pleased to visit the allotments project. Councillor Williams, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't get an answer to my last question. I hope the leader doesn't bring the politics into his answer, what the question I'm going to ask. Civic Pride has gone on. It's a great project, but Civic Pride in this borough has gone on for many years. Through Britain and Bloom, it's not just the town centre that it affects, Britain and Bloom. It goes into the gardens of the residents, into allotments, and they do a fantastic job. The residents do a fantastic job in their gardens. So Britain and Bloom really is one of the major civic prides that we should be included in. Also, when I see the different arrangements, it's always officers I see from Aspire and the Borough Council that are doing a litter pick. And the ones I've seen, the litter picks, are on parks, on land that the borough owns. So really, we should wait. I'll ask the question is, how do we get the residents involved more than we have in the past? On saying that, I think there is, and myself included, and I'm sure a lot of councillors, litter pick outside their properties. So it's gone on. So there's a lot of residents that do a lot of litter picking they have done for many years. But in this civic pride is to prompt the residents to actually do a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillor Jones, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I've mentioned before, and it's certainly something I've declared as an interest, that I do some work for the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons. And just after Christmas, I was down at their rather magnificent building in London doing some work. And what struck me is you have this centre for the regulation of the veterinary profession, regulation of veterinary degrees, the police for the Veterinary Surgeons Act, which is, as far as I'm aware, the only profession that's regulated by an Act of Parliament. And as you go through the grand palatial doors of the headquarters of the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons, you're greeted by a rather ornate marble pathway and a plaque right in front of you in pride of place. It sits against the stained windows for each of the vet schools. And on that plaque, it says, and I saw it again going into the building just after Christmas, in recognition of the work of Thomas Mayer and Son of Newcastle-under-Lyme. It was a veterinary surgeon who had his practice at what is now known as Charter Vets, which is probably one of the oldest continually running veterinary practices in the UK, that created the charter, that led to the creation of the charter. And actually, if you look at the history behind this, it speaks a lot of the grit and determination of people of North Staffordshire, and particularly of Newcastle. Because at that time, the profession wasn't regulated. Simply anyone could call themselves a veterinary surgeon. And in fact, most veterinary surgeons were what would be termed today farriers, or ancillary health professionals that deal with vets. To become a established veterinary surgeon where you could charge your clients more, you had to receive a writ from the London College of Veterinary Sciences, which is now known as the Royal Veterinary College. And these writs were controlled by a group of individuals, most of which weren't veterinary professionals, many of which became very rich over the issuing of these writs. And Thomas Mayer said, no, this isn't acceptable. So he asked government for a charter. And government, as government tends to do, of whatever political flavour, said no. So he then wrote to every single registered through this writ vet in the UK from that veterinary surgery that we can see from this very building, and obtained more than 70% of them to write a letter of support to call for a charter. That was then submitted, and Queen Victoria, who's commemorated just outside in the Queen's Gardens, issued the charter that led to the creation of the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons. There would be no regulated veterinary profession in the UK today without Thomas Mayer and his son from Newcastle-under-Lyme. So I asked the leader, can we ensure, many people are unaware of the role that Newcastle-under-Lyme has played, a major national role. Can we ensure that the bid, which I wholeheartedly support, contains a strong reflection of Newcastle's role in the creation of the modern veterinary profession? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I think that's the three questions. So, Councillor Tagg, would you respond, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Really pleased that this item has generated comments and debate. I think it's really important. I'll take them backwards. Obviously, Dave, thank you for that. And I think what we did do with Thomas Mayer was he was one of the famous Newcastleians, wasn't he, in the 850 celebrations. So I think we are going to capture all of that, I think, in the bid. And as you've just eloquently said there, that the history there is all to see, and Newcastle making its mark on the national stage. We talked about that earlier with our regeneration plans, and throughout history we've done that with notable figures, and it could be, you know, Philip Astley is another one, isn't it? So we must really shout about that in our bids. So thank you for that. Councillor Williams, thank you. Yes, Britain in Bloom, we were the national champions in 2023, our 850 years. So that will be key to our bid for a town of culture. And thank you, Councillor Wheeldon, for your comments as well. I just remembered, Councillor Gordon, I didn't address the civic society bit from your question. And I think, as you know, we tried during the 850 year to resurrect the civic society and weren't successful. And we will try again and on the back of the culture bid. But I think, you know, the people that ran the civic society so well and kept it at the forefront of planning applications and protection of buildings have all moved into retirement now. And we need a new generation to come forward on that. And it's getting difficult. I don't think it should be run by the council, neither. So we'll try again. And our director, Simon McKenney, will take note of this, that as part of our bid for this town of culture, to look at the civic society's resurrection. And it was doing an important role, really, for us, standing aside from the council, but also protecting the heritage and civic heritage of the town. And when I put on social media about our culture bid, I did get a resident coming and saying, well, good idea to resurrect the civic society around this bid. So certainly take that forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Councillor Fear, please.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Mayor. Just very briefly, Civic Pride in its new incarnation kicked off in my ward yesterday on Tuesday, and we had a litter picking session. I'd like to thank the officers involved for organising that. I was very heartened. We had a load of people from Clayton College come down to help us out there. We also had members of the general public rolling up to do part of the litter picking. They probably did better than me, although I managed 3 green sacks worth, which I thought was a reasonable amount. In fact, I rather enjoyed it. Whether I'd have enjoyed it today with the grimy weather, I'm not so sure. But nonetheless, I think as an observation that this is gaining traction. I'm sure the leader would agree with me that we can still push these things harder on social media in particular. I mean, noticeably, the members of the public who came had picked this up from social media. So I think that is our way forward. I'd very much endorse what the Labour Party said about this borough. And there are other people out there as well. T.E. Hume, down the road at Endon, very important in the movement for modern art, modern poetry. Very, very interesting set of anonymous, under the moniker North Staff's reports about the Great War at the time. So we have loads to offer, and I take heart, and I'm sure the leader will endorse this, that we've got more than enough to offer as a town of culture. And we need to have all of those stars in our firm there to make sure that this bid goes forward in a serious and effective way.
Thank you, Councillor Fear. Councillor Tagg, would you like to respond to that, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just briefly, I think it's that sort of report back from our Westbury Park and Northwood Civic Pride this week was heartening to see that there was public involvement. So it is growing, and the more we can get it out there, you're quite right, Councillor Fear, on social media, people learn about it and will come along. And then, of course, if the weather isn't too bad, and we've had some bad weather, haven't we, the last few weeks? But as you say, on the day for Civic Pride in your area, it was nice, and the public did come out, so that's heartening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Members, paragraph 9 is about progress of the Council's sustainable environmental strategy. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 9? I'll start with, there's only one hand gone up at the moment. Councillor Adcock, please. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was pleased to read in this part about the sheer scale of the tree planting that's happened over the last 5 years, and of course with more plans to come. I think it really shows how the council's really prioritising and showing leadership in the tree planting strategy and in environmental issues. No doubt that the Lyme Countryside Park proposal that's being advanced will become a really valuable community asset. How is the council going to ensure that local groups are involved in the shaping of its development?
Thank you, Councillor Adcock. Councillor Whitmore, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recent conditions, the weather conditions, have been very challenging for the recycling and waste teams. How have the team managed over the last 2 weeks? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Whitmore. There are only 2 questions, so Councillor Tagg, would you like to respond to those 2, please?
Thank you. I'll do the first one, then I'll hand over to the portfolio holder relating to the reaction to the winter weather. But on the first one, thank you, Rupert, because obviously your ward is right on the edge and contains most of what's going to be the Lyme Country Park, shares with obviously Keele at the top end. I think getting people involved in that is really key, and local groups, as you say, such as the parish councils or the community groups. We're going to carry out a consultation pretty soon about what people would like to see around and involved in the new country park, side park. And I think that's where we can gauge the reaction of local groups and get them involved. And what our teams will also be doing is going out onto the former golf course site and actually speaking to people as they're out using it. So that's where we will get that sort of gauge of who's involved, who's using, what they want to see on there, what improvements, if improvements are needed, because sometimes community spaces are best left not improved in some respects and can be over improved. But what we can do is make this into a country park, side park that the borough can be proud of. And of course, right on the edge of there is those tree plantings that we did during the 850 anniversary, 850 lime tree forest, right on the edge of the former golf course. So I think hopefully it will catch up people's imagination in the area and beyond and be a place to visit, just like Apedale is, of course, we will, as a country park. And places in Kidsgrove as well, Bathpool and all sorts of things. These are much cherished, Lyme Valley, of course. These are much cherished spaces, and hopefully this one will become the same over the short and long term. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg, and then the portfolio holder, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Whitmore for our question. The weather definitely has been challenging for the recycling and the waste teams. The team's done really well since the 5th of January when we had that snow. No collections were done on the 5th and the 6th due to snow. I think that was the right decision, as the safety of the crew is always a priority. The message we gave residents via members was, put your bins out on your normal day and we will collect them when we can. As of close of business today, flat schools and trade waste contracts are up to date. Food waste collections are up to date. Recycling will be back to normal tomorrow, and we're hoping to be caught up 100% with residual waste by Saturday. I would like to thank the teams for doing voluntary overtime at the weekends. 10 crews have gone out the last 2 Saturdays, and 4 crews have gone out the last 2 Sundays. At this time of year, the crews collect an approximate 20% more from households. The recycling and waste supervisors and managers went out on the vehicles, and the street scene loaned operatives as well to assist. There is a real team spirit at the Nutton Lane depot. The customer hub over the last week, I've had many messages and emails from residents congratulating the team. If I could just very quickly read out three. I hadn't expected the bin men to come today. Not only did they come, but they also took my bin from the top of the drive, even though it wasn't on the road. Please pass on to them how grateful I am for this, as the bin was full and I would have struggled over the next 2 weeks. I would like to make a massive compliment to the refuse crew that collected from my street today. These guys are amazing, always polite, friendly and caring. And the third one I'd just like to share with the council members. I'd just like to extend a big thank you to all of the recycling team locally. We've been lucky to have never had any issues before with delays in the 3 years that we have lived here. What's more, every Wednesday when the team serves my area, my 1-year-old and I wait by the window and watch the team drive by. Every single time, no matter who is driving or collecting, the team are full of smiles and waves. Having such a friendly team drive past with a big flashing lorry and wave to a 1-year-old, it's a 1-year-old's dream come true. So thank you to the teams. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hutchison. And as far as my own village is concerned, I would certainly like to pass on our thanks to the teams. They did a very good job. Moving on now to paragraph 10 is about the future delivery of the financial well-being and debt advice service. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 10? I think Councillor Beresford, please.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Extending the debt advice service provides crucial continuity for residents under pressure because of policies of this Labour government. With fuel poverty rising, this service is more important than ever. Are additional preventative measures being considered to support struggling households? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Beresford. And Councillor Burnett Faulkner, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do the leader and portfolio holder agree that this service is even more vital now, given the government's failure to tackle the cost of living crisis, rising inflation and unemployment? Can the portfolio holder tell me who will be providing the service for the 6-month contract extension? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burnett Faulkner. There was only the 2 questions. Sorry, somebody else. Oh, well, actually, I think Councillor Williams was first, to be fair.
It's me.
Councillor Wheeldon, you may speak. Thank you.
I clearly need permission. Thank you so much. All that I would say is I'd like to congratulate those involved in this initiative, because as a council as a whole, we seem to have to be constantly mopping up the draconian principles of this current Labour government, who all that they want to do is tax, 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 and it's putting people in dire straits. And this initiative helps the community that we live in, and is key. So I'd just like to congratulate those who've started the initiative and those who are continuing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Whelan. That is actually 3 questions. So, Councillor Williams, you'll just have to wait until the next round, please. Councillor Tagg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Three good questions. Thank you on this. I think this is a really important item that we took through council, and I'll allow Councillor Heaton, the portfolio, to answer the one on the extension. But for me, on the first question and the third question, I think it's really important that we go beyond. We look to advise people on how they can go beyond simple debt advice and how they can actually help to, for example, reduce their energy bills. And there are schemes such as warmer homes and grants, etc., which could be signposted, and our staff do that. It's a county council run scheme, and I was involved in that when I was the portfolio at the county until May. And millions of pounds over the last few years have been given to, places that are homes that are suffering from fuel poverty, helping them to have simple in many ways, but quite expensive in others, to actually help them to cut down on their energy bills. So I think that's another angle which answers the question that came in from the councillor about that. And I think that's what we should be doing, and that's what our staff are doing, and that's what our contract also does as well through the debt advice. But I'll hand over to Councillor Heatham, who can tell us more.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. The portfolio holder, please.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Jill, for your question. Yeah, at the moment, the Citizens Advice Bureau have the contract, but obviously, because it's got to go out to procurement, we don't want any of our residents to be disadvantaged by not having a service. So we've extended the service with Citizens Advice for the next 6 months, because it's very important that our residents get any help and support that they can in these difficult times.
Thank you, Councillor Heatham. Councillor Williams now, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Really good service to our residents. I mean, after 13 years of austerity, this is, by the last government, this is really needed to get the services back.
Sorry, could we just have order and let Councillor Williams make his point? Thank you.
So this service will be well used by residents after cuts after 13 years. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is it Councillor Tagg or the portfolio holder?
Okay, I thought we were going to have some more questions so we could not be so raw on the last question, but no, I'm not going to raise to the bait that Councillor Williams has thrown at us there. I think what we're in this for is to ensure that people get the right advice, and they'll continue to get that from this council. I think we are entering another phase of, unfortunately, sort of a crisis in all sorts of areas, fuel poverty and financial stuff. And it seems to be never ending, doesn't it? And it doesn't matter who's in government, because this started in 2008, of course, with the crash, etc. And we've obviously gone through a number of other things, such as the pandemic and all of the upset to do with the lockdowns, etc. So we are.
Forget the obvious one.
Let's not talk about Gordon Brown then, shall we, Councillor Stubbs?
Sorry, can we just try and have order, please?
You see, Mr. Mayor, we're all on the back row here, so we can communicate amongst ourselves as well. But for the benefit of everybody else, we'll keep away from politics and say that the item on the agenda is good news and will continue to be good news for our residents.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. I think we'd better move on to paragraph 11. Sorry, do you wish to have a question on that? Oh, right, on 11. No, that's fine. So paragraph 11's about the APSE award for best performance in street scenes. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 11? And Councillor Stubbs' hand was up first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've already touched a lot on the performance of street scene over the winter period so far, and it's been exemplary. And nobody wishes to see that the guys put themselves at risk when they're out cleaning the streets. And it's wonderful to win an award. My question, if the leader will forgive me, is to the portfolio holder. I worry about a tarnish, though, that could be put on street scene at the moment. So I think members will be well aware that, unfortunately, because of the winter period, Talkenbutt Lane didn't have a recycling collection for 28 days. It was finally picked up yesterday. Nobody wishes to blame the street scene department, but there have been 5 different pieces of communication from this building telling people to put bins out, put bins back, put bins out, put bins back. And that has lent to basically most of Butt Lane and Torque's recycling being all over the streets of Butt Lane and Torque. Now, nobody is blaming the street scene department for that, but can the portfolio holder assure me that the communications on these sort of events will be much, much better next time?
Thank you, Councillor Stubbs. Councillor Turnock was next, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Winning a national award demonstrates the hard work of our street scene teams. The use of new technology and external funding is also very welcome. what further innovations are being explored to enhance the council street scene services? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Turnock. Councillor Beresford, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to extend my thanks and well done for the award. I'd also like to thank portfolio holder and street scene, particularly Lyndon Ryder, who actually made a very quick decision on helping me in an area of Beckley Hall Gardens. Beckley Hall Gardens is in a conservation area and has lots of leaf fall, and unfortunately the current schedule doesn't sweep the area at a crucial time where it all goes to mush, covers the road markings up and blocks the grids. So I was really pleased that within 24 hours, Lyndon Ryder came back to me and has added an additional sweep to the schedule. This has been really warmly welcomed by myself and all the residents, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Beresford. Councillor Tagg, please.
Thank you. I think the last two questions I will hand to Councillor Hutchins as the portfolio holder, but on the first one, I feel I must have a say on that because I think what we've just seen there is possibly 34 days. That will have to be investigated. That's not something which 28 days. Okay, I thought you said 34, but we will look into that, I think. And of course, what we saw was that snow on the Monday, which had repercussions throughout the week. And of course, I was listening to Radio Stoke, as you do now and again, and they were having a real barney over of Stoke collections in the city of Stoke had been horrendous during this period. I saw Staffordshire Moorlands, which of course they have most of the year have snow ploughs on the front of their bin vehicles, being up in the frozen north almost. And even they had delays, even though they're used to it as well. So I think we had a very difficult period. But as David had said in an answer to a previous question, we had our staff coming in on Sundays doing shifts as well, which is the first time I've seen that happen in a number of years, because we asked them to do that to try and clear that. And of course, Monday and the Tuesday, and a bit of that is the day when Butt Lane was due to be collected. So that was affected more than anything in some areas of Harrisey Head, an example as well. So I think working under serious conditions. And of course, if we send these vehicles out on the road, they are multi-ton vehicles. They will not stop if the ice was under the snow at that point, and the gritting would not have got through to that in the time that it takes to clear the roads for them to be out on there. So, and side roads are never gritted, of course. So I think we did the best we could, but we'll certainly investigate. And I think that 20 odd days, if that's what it is, it needs to be looked into so we can learn from that for the future, I think, as well. Because I can remember back in the day when we had an awful system of recycling of boxes, which I remember one year, it was over a month before collections for the entire borough were back up and running properly after we'd had a snowy spell. So we've improved from that, but there are some areas that are affected when we have a snowfall on a particular day that stops everybody and everything, and then there's a catch-up going on. So, but I'll hand over to Councillor Hutchins for the answers to the two questions.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. The portfolio holder, please.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment to Councillor Stubbs. I am meeting with officers on Friday. We are having a cold weather review. We can always learn. There's always lessons to be learned. So I am sitting down with the team on Friday to review how things have gone since the beginning of the year. And I will investigate the talk in Butt Lane on behalf of Councillor Stubbs. The question regarding the APSI award, the Borough Council was awarded this award, Best Performance in Street Scene, which is incredible. The Council measures and benchmarks a number of its services against other similar and larger authorities to determine performance and value for money comparisons. We are a top performer in street scene in relation to costs, performance and environmental quality standards. The Best Performer accolade takes note of this performance, but is also stringently verified by APSI via interviews and evidential support. As well as the new technology and the external funding, such as the 28,000 we've recently received for chewing gum removal in the town centre. We are now introducing mandatory 18-month leadership apprenticeships for level 3 qualifications for new supervisors in street scene. This will develop skills to lead and manage frontline services effectively. We want to promote from within and offer clear career progression to the team. Recruiting new staff via social media advertising campaigns with a strong emphasis on positive attitudes and aptitude to underpin culture change. We're going to open seasonal employment opportunities to undergraduates and graduates to encourage wider council employment opportunities. And thanks to the Health and Wellbeing Committee Working Group, chaired by Councillor Wheeldon, we will be introducing a new system to manage the playgrounds in our borough. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hutchison. We move now on to paragraph 12, which is about the forward plan. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 12, please? No, fine. That then concludes the leader's statement. We move now to agenda item 7, which is reports of the chairs of the scrutiny committees, which is the next substantive item of business. This is the report can be found at pages 53 of your agenda. Reports are attached for the Economy and Place Scrutiny Committee, the Health and Wellbeing and Environment Scrutiny Committee, and the Finance, Assets and Performance Scrutiny Committee. These reports are provided for information and for noting. Please, can the reports be received? General consensus, the reports are duly received. Thank you. Members, the next substantive item of business is the reports of the chairs of the regulatory committees. This is agenda item 8. The report can be found on pages 55 to 57 of your agenda. Reports are attached for the Audit and Standards Committee, Planning Committee, and the Licensing and Public Protection Committee. These reports are here for information and noting. Please, can the reports be received? Thank you. General consensus, the reports are received. Motions of members, which is the next substantive item. A copy of a motion concerning supporting our borough's town centres, high streets and villages can be found on pages 59 and 60 of your agenda. The motion has been proposed by Councillor Simon Tagg and seconded by Councillor Holland. Councillor Tagg, would you like to speak on your motion, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'd like to move the motion. Our town centres, our high streets and our village centres are the social and economic heart of our boroughs. They're used by local people to not only shop but meet and where small businesses are based. And right now they're under pressure, I believe, like never before. Businesses, especially those in retail and hospitality, are being hit on every side. Rising operating costs, increased national insurance burdens by this Labour government, and uncertainty trading conditions are making it harder than ever for independent traders to stay afloat. Yet the evidence is clear. Residents still, I believe, back bricks and mortar shops and leisure venues and pubs and bars and restaurants and the local providers that run those and want to back them as well. And they want vibrant town centres and high streets, and they want obviously our villages to be vibrant too, and they want a local experience that they can go to that's strong with independent businesses that can provide the services that they want. And I think, Mr. Mayor, this council is trying to do its part through the investment in regeneration in our two main town centres particularly. There was that £50 million town deal and high street investment, which we've talked about earlier from the previous government, which was secured between 2019 onwards and 2024. And then, of course, to cement that and to move us forward into the regeneration schemes we've got, particularly in our town centre here in Newcastle, there's that £80 million investment that's been committed by the council to deliver that once-in-a-lifetime regeneration in where it's needed most to create that town centre of all, which we talked about earlier as well, to create that accommodation and to create that footfall for businesses. So we've got those major projects within the town centre, transforming those key sites, whether it's Astley Place, Rycroft or Midway. And of course, we hope that that will support then the leisure and also the retail use in the town and helping to obviously make vibrant public spaces, which we'll have more public spaces in the town centre after that. And of course, we will in Kidsgrove as well, with the plans around the station into the town centre, making them more vibrant and welcoming, doing our bit, what we can for visitors and businesses to help them, of course. These will be real improvements, I think, that we'll find, and it's becoming more and more visible every week. People come into our town centre, particularly Newcastle, you'll see that the building sites and the banging and the sawing and the clattering and the machinery is beginning to come into place, particularly on Rycroft and Astley Park, and also on the Midway as well. The hoardings are up around there, and you can see those on the ring road as you go around. This is meaningful, substantial investment in our town centre. But regeneration alone cannot save the future of our town centres and high streets. All the businesses that run within them, most of them are long-standing as well. Most of them are family businesses, and must be able to operate, I believe, in a fair and stable, supportive national environment. And right now, we're not getting that because they're shouldering the burdens, rising costs and rising business rates. And we continually see media stories about retail and hospitality businesses failing. We've seen it in recent days of one in our rural area. And this seems to be ever increasing, ever faster. When you look at I just saw the Sunday papers again at the weekend, showing a list of high visibility names have been lost from the high street, not just in Newcastle, but across the country. This isn't just not a Newcastle problem. And this is why this motion, I think, is really important. It calls on myself and the Chief Executive to write to the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, urging her to take immediate action to support small businesses here in the borough and across the country. We're calling for two essential steps. First, to extend the business rate relief offer to pubs and to include all hospitality and high street businesses. And secondly, undertake a full review of business rate systems for retail, hospitality and leisure, with the aim of permanently reducing the tax burden and on those vital sectors, ensuring that councils can continue to fund, so that councils continue to get the money for local services from that, but also that the businesses aren't overbeared by business rates. And I think it was either at PMQs last week or in a statement made by Kemi, the leader of the Conservative group, that she's pressing for on small businesses, the type of ones we have on our high street, we should see those business rates abolished. The motion also commits us to continue our work towards tackling antisocial behaviour, become a safer towns and centres and high streets. And of course, we talked about our Civic Pride campaign, which the police are heavily involved in targeting antisocial behaviour, along with our teams at the council. So that needs to continue, so that residents, traders and any visitors into our towns and high streets feel secure. And we will continue to do that. And finally, the motion calls on the council to engage with our 3 MPs to act actively in support for our regeneration projects, for a fairer business rates for businesses and hospitality, and for championing Newcastle and Kidsgrove and our villages as destinations for investment, the leisure and opportunities to help our businesses and leisure industry. So this, Mr Mayor, this motion is about recognising the real challenges that the high streets face, acknowledging the processes that the council is underway to try and change that within its power, with all that regeneration we're doing across the borough, and also asking the government to step in where they need to and change national policy to enable our town centres, high streets and villages to survive. They matter to us, they matter to our residents, and we want to ensure that they continue to serve the community and have viable businesses going forward. So I ask members to support the motion before you today. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Councillor Holland, would you like to second the motion, please?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's a pleasure to second the leader's motion. I'm going to focus some of my remarks on business rates, but please don't let that discourage members in the wider debate from raising all aspects, all elements of the motion. It was submitted before the deadline at a time when a partial U-turn on business rates for pubs had been briefed out by the government, but no detail had yet been laid out. It seemed to the leader and to myself that the basic principle that we've set out at the third resolution on the paper tonight is that whatever pubs are getting, the whole of the high street should get that too. That seemed reasonable enough to us. Well, as of today, the 21st of January, there is still no detail from the government on even that narrow concession for pubs. And this is in respect of changes that are coming in April. What way is that to treat British businesses? What way is that to treat businesses in our borough? Where is the Chancellor? Well, she's in Davos, and she's told Davos today there will be no U-turn for hotels. There will be no U-turn there for our high streets. There will be no U-turn for our town centres. Brutally put, if our high streets go, when high streets are gone, they're not coming back. And whose jobs are going to replace the jobs that are lost when businesses in our town centres close? What tax revenue is going to fill the hole created when businesses fold? I'd like to quote the following from the 2024 Labour Party manifesto. The current business rates system disincentivises investment, creates uncertainty and places an undue burden on our high streets. In England, Labour will replace the business rates system so we can raise the same revenue but in a fairer way. That was the Labour Party manifesto. That was June. By October 2024, Labour in government had generated the Treasury paper that's footnoted in the motion. It's the one that says they've now formed an intention, an ambition of reducing the burden on retail, hospitality and leisure businesses by permanently reducing the multiplier in an otherwise unchanged framework. It's now 2026 and the multiplier has come down, but only by a fraction of the amount that the sector told government was necessary. And what's the context of that? Well, they're withdrawing the pandemic reliefs on business rates, and they're blazing ahead with the revaluation of premises at the same time. It's a double whammy. And it comes on the heels last year of a rise in national insurance contributions and crippling inflation, which we heard today. It's at 3.4%. The government has allowed it to run out of control. The Valuation Office says that this year, the average rise in rateable value, that's for all properties, is 19.4%. That's across the whole portfolio. That's shops, offices, industrial premises, and yes, pubs, 19.4. So I thought, what about our town centre? What about here, Newcastle-under-Lyme? Well, here are a few examples. The Arnold Machin Public House. It's our neighbour. It's right next door. 39%. The View Cinema on the High Street, 28%. This is against an average of 19%, as I said. The Rigger, the grassroots music venue on Marsh Avenue, 62%. The Travelodge on Lower Street, 175%. These are the numbers on which the Chancellor's budget is balanced. I should also say other venues are available. Those examples are drawn just from the immediate town centre. I know they're illustrations that are well known to members. But across the country, 5,100 pubs will this year see their business rates double as a result of the government's changes. Now, business owners, I would ask them, do you feel richer now than you did 3 years ago when the last revaluation took place? Publicans, are their businesses twice as prosperous? And what good is transitional relief or a modest reduction in the multiplier when the basis of the whole calculation is going through the roof? That's why this motion calls on the government to think again and to deliver on its own manifesto commitment, permanently to reduce business rates on high street premises. This council's capital programme has been a real success over the past years. Our regeneration projects funded by the last government are, in my view, some of the most innovative and most efficiently delivered projects that have come forth under the Town Deals, the Future High Streets Fund. This authority has done its utmost to give our town centres and our historic borough the best possible opportunities for future success. We cannot allow national government to burn our local economy down by taxing retail, hospitality and leisure out of business. I urge members to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Holland. Members, we now move to the debate. Please raise your hands if you wish to speak on the motion. Thank you. We'll start with Councillor Jones, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think a few things. I will congratulate the authors of this motion. I think it is a very well-written motion, and I largely agree with its contents, and I will be supporting the motion tonight. I think if I go to the comments from Councillor Tagg, and I think that was quite critical. I don't think anybody can disagree that the high street is struggling, in particular against businesses in other locations, and that businesses located within high street locations have significant other additional costs and considerations that impact on footfall that other areas don't. We look at out-of-town shopping areas where typically they benefit from free parking. Typically the rateable value is lower because the land value is lower, so the average rent is lower. Typically, they're larger units, which means that there's a cost saving from the economy of scale. And also, typically, they tend to be newer buildings, so they have less costs associated with the maintenance of them. And the buildings on our high streets are very different. The costs are much more significant. There are other pull factors away from residents or people visiting those businesses. And as a consequence, they have a much more challenging environment. So I entirely agree with the comments that have been made that we do need to send a message to government that we do want our high streets protected. I think for me, what was important about this motion is that it didn't just mention high streets, it mentions our village and other urban centres. And I think they're equally as critical, if not more critical, because the loss of shops or pubs within a village can be the loss of all businesses within that village. If we're to take my village in Keele, the loss of the pub there would mean that there is not a single business within that village. And I think that would have a significantly negative impact on the quality of life for residents within the village were they not able to access those facilities. I do think there is more that we can do. We can encourage a campaign of shopping locally. I know that that is used by some local authority areas as a pride to encourage residents to use the businesses within the town centres and their villages on a use it or lose it basis. I wholeheartedly support the writing to Treasury. I agree. Councillor Holland thankfully quoted the 2024 Labour Party manifesto, and I do agree with that. I had hoped for a change to business rates that would make the system fairer and would protect the high street. And I don't think this is what we have. And I do feel that that is a mistake. Just one or two things that I would like to correct. Just one thing in particular is on inflation. And I do agree that we do want to see inflation reduced down to the Bank of England's target. I will note that inflation is, of course, tied in many ways to the Bank of England base rate and the successive lowering of the base rate, which many members may not want to congratulate the current Labour government on successes. But I think we can all agree that a situation where the Bank of England base rates have been reduced significantly, reducing the cost of mortgages, giving residents more money in their pocket to spend in businesses is a success. Now, I know that we want to see those base rates go further, and I know that we want to try and see inflation keep below that target, but we must be aware that when you do see significant drop in base rate, you will see impact on inflation. And I did note that members gasped at the percentage of inflation. I would remind members, and I hope to hear a similar, if not louder gasp, that inflation in 2023 was 6.8%. That's average inflation. And in 2022 was 7.9%. So I think we should accept that, yes, the changes to business rates are a mistake, but we should also accept that there are steps being taken to try and boost the economy, but that when you're starting from 7.9% and 6.8% average inflation, there's quite a long way to go. But as I said, I will support the motion tonight. I know that how we will improve for our businesses in the town centre and in our villages is to increase footfall. And I do think one of the ways that we can do that is by encouraging a shop local campaign that I think would tap into that civic pride that we've spoken about quite a lot today. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Wheeldon, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The 5 issues highlighted as critical to support our borough town centres, high streets and villages are well noted and succinctly put in the description. The current government, it would seem, is hounding small businesses, pubs, hotels and other small enterprises and others into the ground by taxation and anything that they can think of. Part 6 of the motion is of paramount importance, I think, having raised these issues. So what I'd like to ask people to note is, and answer to some questions I raised, how do we assess the support given by the MPs to further these initiatives when it would seem that it's cross-party agreement that something should be done? What key performance indicators are we going to set to see if these MPs achieve the goals? After all, they are elected by the community to support the community. A huge significance to the community is we're trying to get people back into the town centre. We're trying to have these small shops, small businesses, pubs and hotels as part of the community long term. And are we going to set any sort of benchmark that they're expected to achieve? That there needs some monitoring of how much they're going to do when essentially they were elected by the community to support the community. It's not go down to Whitehall, have a jolly and feel terribly important. They were elected by this community to support this community, not to promote their own achievements. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeldon. Councillor Rees, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While I support the sentiment of supporting our borough's town centres, high streets and villages, I must state that this motion would be much better if it contained an express commitment to reduce the proliferation of vape shops currently saturating our high streets. Let's be frank, these shops are nothing short of a blight. The bright neon toy-like signage clashes horribly against the aesthetic heritage of our borough, especially within a town centre. However, my concern goes beyond the visual, the extent of the products on sale within. I'm sure all members are aware of the troubling reports surrounding these establishments that have emerged over the past year or so. The Ghost Town report published by Manchester University last year highlighted a staggering 1,200% increase in vape shops across England since 2014. That same report recommended that local authorities be granted enhanced powers to regulate such outlets, a call for action that's received backing from the Prime Minister. The Tobacco and Vapes Bill is currently progressing through Parliament. This legislation will empower this council to refuse licences based on the local density of businesses, effectively allowing us to cap the number of outlets. So I feel an opportunity is being missed with this motion. If we are truly to support our high streets and protect our heritage, we must address the vape shop problem head on. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rees. Councillor Sweeney, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was sitting at a cabinet meeting during the week, and Councillor Fox-Hewitt attended and talked to us and asked a question that he's very well entitled to. And he wanted to lower some of the fees we charge on the football and rugby pitches. Very, very commendable, and I support that entirely. But the two examples he used was licensing and bookies, and I don't think our sort of license places really need another charge at the moment. I think they're struggling enough as it is. My son, during his degree, he worked in the Wagon Horses up the Highland. I'll give it a plug. It's excellent pub. Recommend it to anybody. Really, really good pub. He worked there all the time. I don't know how many people of his age, 18, 19-year-olds, out there now, because you put national insurance up, you put the minimum wage up. Sounds very nice, but somebody's got to pay it. You put rates up. Well, what's the pub going to do? It could get rid of some staff. It can cut hours. It can put its prices up. That's the only sort of tools it's got. So there's always a knock-on effect. I don't think the Labour Party, or the higher echelons of the Labour Party anyway, quite realise this. That these premises have got to get the money back from somewhere, and we'll be paying it. I think personally, the biggest thing this council's done for the town centre is the work in conjunction with Capital and Centric, bringing people to live in the town. This sort of 700-800 extra people living in the town are going to be spending money in the town, going to improve footfall in the town. And I think it's, well, as I said before, I think it's a very exciting. I know I keep talking about the former car park on Midway, but I do generally believe it. I think it's really, really exciting times for Newcastle. And I think bringing people into the town is our major contribution to it, really. Another thing, I've used this line before, but I'll use it again. Always reminds me of the old Mars adverts. Used to see on telly, didn't you? Mars adverts. So to work, rest and play. Work in Newcastle, go out in Newcastle, and live in Newcastle. And I think that's the future for our places. Council Holland's just sent me the Wagon Horses. They've got up 92% their business rates. And that's going to be jobs. That's going to be jobs going, that is. And it's the impact here. There's always an impact on these things. And this is sort of proof that comes. And thank you for that, Councillor Holland. It's very helpful. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Sweeney. Councillor Fox-Hewitt, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. A few things. I was obviously interested to hear the contributions from our resident economist, Councillor Holland, but the ONS has shown that growth averaged around 2.3% per year between 1997 and 2010, but under Conservative-led governments, growth slowed significantly and productivity was especially weak and a major drag on overall economic performance. So I'm not entirely sure why this motion hasn't been presented during any of the last 9 years him and his colleagues have led the council. On Councillor Wielden's point about introducing key performance indicators on the MP, I'm very pleased to inform that our MP has the highest number of contributions, questions, early day motions and votes of any backbenching MP in Parliament. So I'm sure he'll look forward to the card congratulating him.
Sorry, could we just keep a little bit of order, please? It's thank you. Sorry, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Turning to the motion, look, on balance, I do support the motion on the basis that I support continued town centre regeneration, improvements to Kidsgrove, greater support for the hospitality sector, the Borough Civic Pride Initiative, and of course, all of that being wrapped up to promote our fantastic borough. But I do just have one minor point, and I again respectfully challenge the vainglorious claim that this is a once-in-a-lifetime regeneration, because regeneration is a continual progressive process, and we have seen numerous projects delivered over many, many years. For example, the Brampton Museum and Park, the huge Castle Walk regeneration. We've seen Castle House, all delivered under a different administration and party that ran the council. So yes, I do support the motion, but the claims and tone could perhaps reflect less selfdom in this motion, because I think it's incumbent on every single council that they should deliver regeneration and improvements. And I'm sure that we all wish that these projects are going to be completed and bring continued success to this borough. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fox-Hewitt. Councillor Fear, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I think the important part about this motion in some ways is the bit that stresses the social role of town centres. We live, sadly, in a more and more fragmented society where people do their own thing. Now they do their own shopping via vans and such like, and we just simply don't have the level of interaction that we used to have. I think that's bad for society in general. In particular, of course, as somebody who joined as a student, Cameron is still a member. I would like to champion the public house where people go. They meet for people from different walks of life, sample merchandise from different parts of the world, and it's generally a very good thing. The sad thing, of course, is that that sector, and not only that sector, as this motion stresses, is under threat at the moment. Pubs are closing. Shops are closing. I'm happy to agree with Councillor Rees about vape shops, but the reason that we got vape shops is because other shops of value are closing. And we need to address that issue. That is the core issue at the end of the day. And I'm afraid we do have a government at the moment which has that sort of old-fashioned socialist view that everybody who owns a business is rich. We can soak them a little bit more. They can afford it. It'll be all right. And we'll grind them down. The object, of course, at the end of the day is to create a client state where everybody is in the hock of the state. Socialists hate freedom. I personally, if you wanted to put a label on me, I would say I was a distributist. I would like to see capital extended. We should have more capitalists in this country. Napoleon denounced us as a nation of shopkeepers. We won. We were right. And we need to get back to that at the end of the day. I agree with Councillor Sweeney. The regeneration that we've done, and it is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. It's not the case. I'm happy to agree that regeneration hasn't happened before, but the scale of this is different, and that needs to be acknowledged as well. But what we're going to do is bring people into a town centre. Having lived for a year and a bit in the south of Spain, where people do live in town centres, one thing I can say is that those centres are safer, they're more vibrant, and people pop out to the shops. They like little shops as well. What we don't want to do is create, through poor policies, badly thought through policies, thought perhaps is a strong word for the present Chancellor. After all, it wasn't her budget, it was her pal's budget. That was fairly clear. But nonetheless, what we don't want to do is deprive those people of having that social aspect. We don't want just to have people in little boxes and such like. So we really do need to give people a chance. And the problem with the current government's policies, the taxes on employing people and such like, is they hurt the small businesses most. Corporate capital can suck this up. They don't mind. The guy who owns a pub, the bloke with a corner shop, is really hit. And it's the destruction of almost, it's hard to not think deliberate destruction of those businesses. Because I say, socialists don't like shopkeepers. That actually sucks the heart out of communities. Therefore, I think this is a very, very timely motion at this moment. We need to defend the beating hearts of our communities. And the only way we can do this is hopefully to try and have yet another U-turn. It will be very, very welcome indeed.
Thank you, Councillor Fear. It's Councillor Gorton next, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's been a really good debate, actually, listening to contributions from members. I really did want to, if I may, extend a point that was raised by my colleague, Councillor Phil Rees, regarding vape shops. Because it's not just vape shops, is it, Mr. Mayor? It's also nail bars. It's also gents' hairdressers. And I think if we were talking to residents, that would be one of their big concerns and criticisms about the current state of the town centre. And of course, Newcastle isn't on its own. These shops seem to feature now in high streets right across the country. Now, in general, I'm broadly relaxed about regulation, but I do wonder whether it is time that councils got more responsibility to step in if it's felt that there is an oversupply of particular shops, and I've heard the term unwanted shops, and maybe, and I will be supporting the motion, but maybe the mover of the motion perhaps needs to advise us whether actually he's in favour when it comes to countering unwanted shops like vape and nail bars and gents hairdressers, whether we actually do need stronger regulation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gorton. Councillor Adcock, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you look around the country, you can see that there is a crisis in high street retail, and particularly in hospitality. And this is nothing new. This has been happening for a long time, and there are deep structural reasons why this is happening. But it's clear that the current government is doing what it can to make this worse. As you see the system with business rates now, as we see in the shocking figures of some of our local businesses will be paying. We've seen pubs in particularly being hit hard by this, and hospitality venues. We've seen a pub in Silverdale close back in November, the Crown. We've seen a Slater's Country Inn close just the other day. Just over the border in Ward, the Falcon Inn is closing, and you're hearing more and more as time goes on. It's becoming clear this system, when we heard about the system of reform that might be coming in for business rates, it was very welcomed, but it seems to have backfired spectacularly. And as we can see, the effect on our local businesses here. We're very lucky in Newcastle to have this regeneration money coming in. A lot of towns would love to be in the position we're in terms of this regeneration money, and we're doing what we can to keep a high street going. I know it's one of the most emotive issues for our residents when you speak to them. However, this is not supported by the same level of effort and action from our government, who through the national insurance increases have greatly hurt small businesses in our area, through the minimum wage increases, which also, particularly for the young, is making it less attractive to employ people, and also through this change in business rate system, all of which the increased taxation and costs on these businesses, which are already struggling due to inflationary pressures, cost pushing, and so on, it's making it far, far more difficult environment for them to thrive. And whilst we're doing what we can with our regeneration money here, it's quite right that we support this motion, and we ask the government to do their bit in doing much more to support the continuation of local retail, and in particular hospitality, in not just our area, but across the country, because the evidence out there that this is needed is evident.
Thank you, Councillor Adcock. Councillor John Williams, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm a socialist and I like businesses. I shop in the town centre regularly, and I wander around the town centre, and we've got a great array of cafes of different sizes, different tastes, and really do well. The point I'm going to make is public transport is bringing people into the town centre. And I know a lot of people, you have to wait an hour for a bus to come into the town centre, do the shopping, and because the bus only run 1 hour, they back onto the bus and go back. If there was more buses there, people would think about using the coffee shop, using the shops. And that's, I think, in my estimation, really, the public transport, the lack of public transport. Now, I know we're stuck with the county. They're the leaders on transport for us. And it's the way, you know, through government to the county council to provide better bus services. And of course, people have got to use the bus services. But if the bus services are there, people would use them. So that's a factor, I believe, in the diminished of the town centres. And I just want to make the point on, I agree with all the developments in the town centre, that people will live in the town centre. I get a comparison. I don't like to make comparisons really, but in Nantwich, we've got more cafes, better cafes than what Nantwich have got. Nantwich has been surrounded by housing development. But how many of those people from those developments go into the town centre? That's a question, you know. I've been to Nantwich a few times, and there isn't that many people. There's about the same amount of footfall as this in this borough. So let's hope that the development of the housing in the town centre will bring more prosperity to the town centre and a better bus service that bring people off our estates into the town to make it better town centre. And the point taken by Councillor about he says that cafes are really people getting together. And I use the cafes in the town centre. People get in, they want to talk, they want to come together. So it's a really good facility that we've got. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillor Simon Tagg, would you like to sum up, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for all those comments. And as Councillor Gorton said, a good debate developed there. I'll respond to some of the points. Thank you, Councillor Jones, I think, for initially, and I think you're quite right, those village pubs are a really important centre of the community. When you talk about community centres, I know we've got the village hall in Keele, but also the pub is a community centre for people. As you lose those, you're out of the game, aren't you? But I think also your idea about the shop locally being tied into civic pride is certainly something we'll take forward. And I think we've got a scrutiny meeting coming up in the next cycle scrutiny meetings where the scrutiny committee responsible will have a paper on civic pride. So we'll make sure that's included in that and taken forward. Thank you for that. Joan Williams said about MPs' votes. That's how we sort of have a record of what our MPs are doing to help us on the back of this. I think, unfortunately, I'm not targeting one MP or all three for our area, but of course we know they voted for the budgets, they voted for the other measures, so we can see the results of that. So that's why this motion is here today. Councillor Rees and also Councillor Gorton, I think a very good point made. I think what we want is legitimate businesses in the town, wherever they may be, because fashions change, requirements change. Nail bars, they're not empty in our town, they're full of people, ladies particularly, having their nails done, which is a trade, it's a functioning economy, and it is something which is really important for that. But I think there's also those which are not seen and need to be investigated, whether they're legitimate businesses, and we're working closely with the County Council's trading standards team on that, and there may be some news about that in the future on that. Councillor Fox-Hewitt obviously talked about claims about regeneration and lifetimes worth of regeneration or generational regeneration. But I would say that since 2017, we've been trying our hardest with the help of the previous government to kickstart the regeneration, particularly in Newcastle Town Centre and in Kidsgrove. And we've seen, as in the item we discussed in the leader's statement, that what we've touched on in this motion is that is beginning to come to fruition now. That £80 million council investment in the schemes in the town centre, which has seen some delivery, I feel. Councillor Williams, I think a good statement about buses and getting people into our town centre. I just remind him, and I'm no longer in a leadership position at the county council, but the county council do not run buses, they don't control buses or anything like that. So I think what we need is investment from central government to help those operators to extend their routes and do more routes. But we've done our bit here because through the town deal, we've instigated the K route, which goes from Keele University right around all the employment sites and back again to Chesterton and all the places, also taking in the town centre area as well. So there is that extra, what we've done locally through the funding we've had through the town deal. I think, again, we come back to the role of our MPs. I think that needs to be something that they take up, and what are they doing about that to bring in better bus services? So this motion, Mr Mayor, is ultimately about standing up for the local people, the businesses, and the town centres and high streets and village centres in our borough. And we've seen that what a difference the regeneration can make already with the market improvements we've done in the town centre. Even Kidsgrove Sports Centre in Kidsgrove is full, got a buzz about it, and is generating footfall into Kidsgrove again after that had been closed. And we've seen that, unfortunately, high streets can't thrive, and particularly retail and hospitality businesses, they're struggling because of those national rises in costs through national government's decisions. As a council, we're doing our part locally. We're transforming our town centres and improving safety as well, working with the police on antisocial behaviour and creating conditions for growth. We need this Labour government to match that ambition, and I believe the previous one did in its town deal funding and its future high street funding. The name is in the title there. It does what it says in the tin, making high streets, future high streets, and making them more sustainable. And we need that fairer business rates, don't we? As Mark talked about, and he went through that list of those swinging increases that are affecting businesses across the board, and meaningful support for the hospitality and retail sector. Our traders deserve stability and a fair chance to succeed. I think we all agree that. And our borough deserves the backing required to build on the progress that's underway locally. So I urge members to support this motion. I think it's going to be supported across the board, and we'll send a message that our borough, whether it's Newcastle-under-Lyme Town Centre, whether it's Kidsgrove Town Centre, whether it's our high streets in Chesterton, Wolstanton, and across the board, and also our villages, whether they be Audley, Beckley, and all across the board in Loggerheads and Baldingsgate, all get the support that they need for those hard-working businesses that are putting investment into those businesses and taking a risk to set a business up to make our borough better. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. The motion has been moved, seconded and debated. So we now come to the vote. All those in favour? That vote is unanimous, so the motion is passed. Members, the next item is item 10. This is members' questions. I have received 3 questions for the leader and cabinet members. These can be found on page 61 of your agenda pack and will also be shown on the screens. I will ask the leader or the relevant cabinet member to respond to the question as shown, after which I will ask the member who submitted the question if they have a supplementary question. Could I remind members that if they have a supplementary question, it must be a question and not a statement, and it must be concise, focused, and relate to the subject matter of the initial question and answer. The first question is from Councillor Jacqueline Brown regarding the garden waste subscription and is on the screen now. Councillor Hutchison, your response, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is quicker and easier for customers to renew their garden waste subscription online, and this is the council's preferred route for such transactions. This negates the need for customers to provide bank details over the phone and protects their privacy and reduces the risk to the council staff. However, if a customer genuinely cannot complete this by themselves or with the help of a friend or relative or by using the self-serve terminals in the reception at Castle House, the Customer Hub team can assist them to set up the garden waste subscription over the phone. Now, when I received Councillor Brown's question yesterday morning, I went straight to the Customer Hub section on the second floor of Castle House. I approached an operative called Tina, who by coincidence was on the phone dealing with a garden bin subscription renewal. The resident to whom she was talking was in his 80s. The procedure was explained exactly as my answer. The operative Tina, once the other options were exhausted, entered the customer's details and then paused the recording of the call to complete the card transaction. She then completed that a second time as the resident paid for his next door neighbour, who was in her 80s. I've since spoken with 2 supervisors in the Customer Hub, Julie Moran and Simon Webb, and shared the details of Councillor Brown's question and asked them to speak with every member of the Customer Hub team to ensure 100% of the team are 100% aware of the correct procedure exactly as I explained. Finally, if Councillor Brown has the contact details for her resident, I will pass the details to Tina, Simon or Julie in the Customer Hub and ask them to call the resident in the morning, firstly to apologise for the mix-up and secondly to carry out the transaction. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hutchison. Councillor Brown, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I'd like to thank the portfolio holder for the time and effort he's taken to follow this up and the detail. And I certainly would be going back to that resident and saying the portfolio holder has reassured us that it can be done. Just one follow-up question. Do you have any other reasonable adjustments that can be made for vulnerable residents so that they can set this up from scratch? As in terms of the subscription, please.
Councillor Hutchinson, could you react to that, please?
Yeah, once again, if it's not a renewal, if someone's taken a garden subscription out from scratch, they've just moved into the area, then yeah, they would do the same procedure. They would phone up, ask to that they want to take out a subscription. And again, the procedure will be gone through. Can you do it online? Can a friend or family member help? Can you come into the Castle House and use one of the self-service terminals on the ground floor? But if that's exhausted, then they would just take the details of the customer or the resident over the phone and set them up with a subscription. It's hoped by next year we'll have some automatic renewals in place, which might be easier for people. But at the moment, each subscription is done annually. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hutchison. The next question is from Councillor Richard Gorton concerning the borough's draft local plan and is on the screen now. So, Councillor Fear, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I can inform Councillor Gorton and colleagues that there was a total of 197 representations that were received from 71 respondents during the consultation period. Again, remember, on the schedule of main modifications for the local plan. All of those representations have now been forwarded to the independent inspector, and the inspector has confirmed receipt of those representations. We will receive her thoughts on that in due course. I'd like to thank our officers in planning for working very hard to get all of that stuff compiled and sent off in a prompt way. We are now in the hands of the inspector. We don't know when the reply will come. We do know that the inspector and indeed the inspectorate in general is very heavily worked at the moment. I would hope for a response sooner rather than later. But given local authorities' response to the government's shake-up of these things in recent times, there is an awful lot going on, and that means that there aren't that many people to get through it all, so we just don't know when that response will come.
Thank you, Councillor Fear. Is there a supplementary, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank the portfolio holder for his answer. Appreciate the amount of work involved, but have to ask, can members of council look forward to receiving and considering the final version of the draft local plan before the borough elections in May?
Thank you, Councillor Fear, please.
I'm afraid, as I've just said, I can't guarantee that, Councillor, because we simply do not know when the inspector will respond to us. And indeed, my understanding is that the inspector herself will consult other colleagues on legal matters and such like, so we just don't know.
Thank you, Councillor Fear. The third question, which is actually the final question, is from Councillor Andrew Parker regarding a letter that's been sent to the Chancellor, and that question is now showing on the screen. Councillor Sweeney, your response, please.
My response is a very short response, and the answer is yes. I got a letter dated the 8th of January. That won't be of any interest to anybody. It happens to be my birthday, so that was a nice birthday treat for me. And it wasn't signed from the Chancellor. It was from James Murray, who I think kind of Chief Secretary to the Treasury, so presumably he's a sidekick, isn't he, I think. But thank you for that question there, Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Councillor Sweeney. Councillor Parker, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you, if I may be so bold, What was actually in the response from the Chancellor's Secretary?
Councillor Sweeney, please.
Thank you for that not totally unexpected question, Councillor Parker. Yeah, it was sort of split into 4 paragraphs. The first paragraph was saying how local authorities get an extra £3.3 billion over the next 3 years, which is a nice tidy sum. Unfortunately, we're not getting any of it. We're actually losing £1,051,000 over the 3 years. I think the 3.3 billion has perhaps been siphoned away to outer London boroughs. I don't know if Haringey is one of those, but that's where a lot of it's going, and a lot's going to the metropolitan districts as well. But we actually are losing £1,051,000. An authority this size is a considerable amount of money. Second paragraph's not particularly interesting. Third paragraph, there's £3 billion going to help homeless support. Now this is welcome. It's new money. We get £200,000 of that £3 billion over 3 years. Remember, which will keep us level. It'll keep us where we are, but it won't bring us forward at all. We won't be able to offer anything else different. It's just plugging the gap basically. So it's not desperately successful, but that's where we are. The final paragraph, which I'll go to read a chunk of this out because it's hysterically funny. On local government reorganisation, we remain committed to replacing 2-tier authorities with suitably sized unitary councils to create simpler structures, more joined-up services, and help councils to pursue efficiencies. Well, we won't, will we? Because it's nonsense. We know that. Unitary councils can lead to better outcomes for residents. No, they won't. We know that. Improve accountability. No, they won't. We know that. And save significant money. No, they won't. We know that. Which can be reinvested in public services. Absolute nonsense, and this fantasy world the Labour government has on the advantages of their forthcoming local organisation is just staggering, and it's on there, and it's just nonsense. But at least we are getting an extra £200,000 over 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sweeney. Members, you'll be relieved to know that agenda item 11 to receive petitions, there are none. And as for agenda items 12 and 13 relating to urgent business and confidential business, there is none. And so therefore that concludes the business for this meeting, and I declare the meeting closed. Thank you.
All right.